Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here with the Pro Wrestling Logic YouTube channel and the Mid South Wrestling review series. We are on the 30th of January. Almost said September. We're not that far. Tom Ernesto versus Dick Murdoch starts us off. Of course, Murdoch has been here for a couple of weeks now. Maybe brought in partially due to his alignment with Dusty Rhodes, but also Murdoch, one of the best in the area, and Ernesto, and he, fight very basic. Murdoch hands him his own tail for a minute with an armbar after a wristlock takedown. Really basic stuff. Murdoch works the arm for a couple of minutes, gets all he can out of that. Ernesto does get a momentary attempt at a pinfall, but some ride time and a hammerlock by Murdoch cuts that off pretty quickly. Speaking of cut off, Ernesto manages to hit one, although he then gets nailed in the jaw with a dropkick. No fun when Big Dick Murdoch gives you dropkick for sure. Big suplex and actually a brainbuster. Falling brainbuster by Murdoch. 1, 2, 3 gets the win, and Murdoch rolls on to another victory. Skandar Akbar talks about the departure of the Iron Sheik. He's none too happy with that reality, but he says it's necessary for the benefit of the Ayatollah, and he needs to do what he needs to do, but for the most part, he says that he is on the fringe, so to speak, of things, and he knows what's coming. We go to the Wild Samoans up next. I guess I was a little bit out of sorts because the turn toward Akbar and does not seem to have happened yet. Frank Monty and Terry Daniels are the opponents for the Samoans. Samoans, Afa and Sika, of course, historic in nature. Many of their family members, the foundation of professional wrestling in a lot of ways. Irish whip and a back chop by the Samoans. Obviously, Ernie Ladd still out there with the Samoans. He's watching them kick, headbutt, and Samoan drop, no pun intended, their way to victory. Of course, the Samoans, former tag team champions at this point. Tag, Samoan drop, followed by a second rope headbutt dive by Sika. I did not know that he had that level of athletic ability. Of course, my exposure to Sika prior to this, primarily his World Wrestling Federation work, and he was a little less mobile in those days. Brian Blair up next. Carlos Zapata, his adversary for the day, and obviously that's, kind of, I won't say to be expected, but at the same time, kind of there, as Brian Blair on the card almost every week. Zapata gets taken down pretty handily, pretty easily, big body slam, and needless to say, that Brian Blair bouncing around like he's got spring in his step, in his shoes or something. Zapata does use a bit of a size advantage, which he has, uses a side headlock takeover, and continually wrestling style and Ackerman on top of speed advantage and pinning combination give Brian Blair a good run. If you want to see the integration of decent mat wrestling into a match where it doesn't look hokey and it looks like it's a competitive nature, and you're an independent wrestler and you want to be different and not do 10,000 flips, watching Brian Blair from 82 through even his early WWF stuff before the Killer Bees, his single stuff, especially some matches with Paul Orndorff, worth doing. Cut off by Zapata, punch kick, holding him on the ropes and the like, and eventually back suplex by Blair gives him an advantage, perhaps one that his opponent doesn't want him to have. Falls back into a cradle, 1, 2, 3, and in fact, there is a victory once again for the man who would later become one half of the Killer Bees, Orton Jr. and Orndorff versus JYD and Mike George. Of course, JYD and Mike George, I believe, former tag team champions. JYD, I also believe, a former Louisiana champion, and the dog makes his way in, steel chain around his neck, and the match breaks down into a brawl almost immediately. That's a pretty big deal, you know. One thing I like about this general time in Mid South is, for the most part, you have guys who are there every week. You have guys that you've got matches that don't get old because although they don't have heavy story like episodic soap operas, there's enough story where when they fight, you care who wins, you care who loses. Anyway, Thump, still, even here on the tights of the Junkyard Dog, didn't know Thump goes back that far. Punches and the like by Orndorff, and Junkyard Dog follows back with him. Dog hits a headbutt, and his opponent goes to the outside and tag to George. Meanwhile, it is a double team series on Orton for a minute or two here. George stays in with Orton for a good bit of time. Again, makes his way over to his tag team partner, and they tag off. Meanwhile, Orndorff is very animated on the outside of the ring. He's kicking at the dog, gets in the ring with the dog legally, hits a flying clothesline. That's really pretty athletic. Not that I didn't think Orndorff could be a good athlete, but it's just amazing that sometimes guys will shock you with what they can do. Big body slam and an Irish whip by Mike George, and a kick by Orndorff into the side of the head. Orndorff seems to be directing traffic in the match here. They cut the ring off on George a little bit, and a big knee drop and a big splash by Orton. Orton starting to get a little frustrated by the fact that he cannot get rid of his adversaries here. Junkyard Dog comes in, ready and raring to go, certainly, and a couple of shots. Again, all four guys in the ring. Nothing really getting settled here. And Dog goes down, referee having some difficulties. Weaponry brought into the ring a little bit, but I don't know that the referee caught all of that. A big, kind of, I would say, diving neck breaker by Orton on George from the top rope. And the match continues. Referee has not stopped things. Thought I saw a whip in there or something. And meanwhile, there is a victory for George and the Junkyard Dog, as there's a roll-up on the outside, and or not on the outside, on the fringe near the corner, and the dog gets a victory after a thump power slam on Orton. 1, 2, 3. It's kind of out of the way of the camera because there's so much action going on around it. You can see it, but I didn't actually, the first time I saw it, didn't think it was a finish until I heard the bell, and there we go. Anyway, Mr. Olympia and Ed Wiskowski is up next. I think up next, anyway. I know they are promoted before they go to commercial. Yep, Olympia and Wiskowski up next. And, this is certainly a bit of I wouldn't say a departure from what is normal, but certainly they are pushing Wiskowski pretty hard. Olympia, still a major fan favorite in the area. Wiskowski on a winning streak, and I believe, Mr. Olympia is the Louisiana champion, if I remember correctly here. But out wrestling Wiskowski, who is larger than he, trips him up and gets a body slam on him. Side headlock takeover, controls the tempo of the match and the duration, meaning speed and intensity of the match for a while. Some ride time with the headlock for a couple of minutes. But Wiskowski manages to use a clothesline in the corner and his power. He takes over on his adversary for a minute or two and manages to hit quite a few shots, works over the back of the neck with some knees and the like, and then we see hip toss take over, and Wiskowski having some trouble, some frustration with trying to get a win and not getting it. Backslide driver and a near kick out. Olympia still in the match with that backslide. Has to fight up from his feet though. To his feet though. Abdominal stretch and the use of the ropes illegally by Wiskowski. Referee catches it, but does not engage the disqualification rule, as it is the referee's discretion to do so or not. Irish whip and reversal. Big crossbody 1-2 by Olympia. Olympia not wanting to quit, surrender, give up, or anything else of the sort. Big Boston Crab here by the benefit of Wiskowski. Wiskowski, though, gets caught, gets sent into the buckle, and finally starts to beg off. Crowd is happy, and Wiskowski, trying to fight his way out of the sleeper, has more difficulty with that than he imagined at first, and needless to say, Mr. Wiskowski goes night-night, and a victory for Mr. Olympia. We move into one of the final three segments of the program. Ted DiBiase, the North American champion, and the Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff eventually do battle here. There's kind of, I guess this is a harken back to some previous stuff between them. DiBiase had fought to maintain balance and switch the figure four over. They go onto the floor, and things are broken up by the officials. Referees get taken down, and attempts by Orndorff to cause chaos, interference from various people. Dick Murdoch tries to get involved, also cut off of the official. DiBiase again tries with the chaos. Referee eventually throws the match out pretty much, and actually a roll-up, and eventually Orndorff fights his way out. Dick Murdoch in the ring, Orndorff claiming that he has won. Pier 6 brawl. It seems like a lot of chaos, and a non-finished referee calls for the chaos of everything to end, and it stops the match. Then we go to a scheduled title match turning into a bit of a brawl, and the brawl is involving Bob Roop and I'm trying to get a handle here. Referee is unhappy. Orndorff going to wear a referee shirt and bring about some chaos here. It's DiBiase, I believe, that is the North American champion, going to face Roop, but Orndorff claims that he has the right to be the referee, and there's already a referee appointed for the match, so they end up fighting. The brawl goes kind of crazy, and nothing gets accomplished here. Brawling all over. Orndorff, Roop, and DiBiase, gets that going. The continuation of the Orndorff and DiBiase program that they've been plugging for the last several weeks seems to be in pretty full, intense swing. We move then, therefore, to a standby match post that, and that standby match involves, I don't know that newcomer, but I think it's the first time we've seen him in our journey. That is Rick Ferreira against Bill Ash. Bill Ash is an enhancement talent we've seen. Literally, they have less than 4 full minutes. Again, the habit of using every bit of television they can. Ferrara gets a little bit of an advantage, but Ash takes some shots too. They do actually what looks like a guard. The referee watches as both guys try to choke each other, try to get a sleeper on, but the referee eventually has to call it, as the program is going off the air. Both of these guys intense, like it's a main event program, and that is because they're going to go to house shows and have to deal with each other. Several attempts at a key lock by Ferrara, several near falls, and clotheslines and the like, back elbows, trying to get victories as quick as they can. No victory is had, but that will close January of 1982 for us. We'll be back with more action right after this.